Imagine this. You see a patient, perform the exam, document the care, your staff submits the claim. To all appearances, everything looks right. But then the claim comes back denied. The team may shrug, file it away, or mark it unresolved. And the revenue disappears. What you delivered, the service, the documentation, the provider expertise, is lost financially. And more often than you think, this is happening silently. And this is in addition to the money you're losing on adjustments, which we reviewed in our last episode. Welcome to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where you can find experts, answers, and resources so that you can achieve mastery over the financial and business aspects of your practice. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jill Arena. I began my career in accounting and finance, and I have more than 30 years of experience running medical groups. I own and operate a national healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company, and I am the author of Physician Heal Thy Financial Self. In 2020, I co-founded the Physician Leadership Project, and in 2025, I released Physician's Edge, the first of its kind, CME-accredited online business education for physicians. My passion is to increase financial and business literacy for physicians. Episode 162, Denied and Forgotten, How Medical Claim Denials Are Costing You 13% of Your Revenue. Imagine this. You see a patient, perform the exam, document the care, your staff submits the claim. To all appearances, everything looks right. But then the claim comes back denied. The team may shrug, file it away, or mark it unresolved. And the revenue disappears. What you delivered, the service, the documentation, the provider expertise, is lost financially. And more often than you think, this is happening silently. And this is in addition to the money you're losing on adjustments, which we reviewed in our last episode. Today, we're diving into an issue that's also quietly eroding the bottom line of many medical groups: claim denials that aren't followed up. The stats are startling, but 20% of medical insurance claims are denied. Yes, you heard that correctly, 1 in 5. And around 65% of those denials are never appealed or corrected. Put those together and you get this. If 20% are denied and 65% of those are lost, you're effectively giving away 13% of your revenue. That's a huge hit, and yet most practices aren't managing it as one of their top financial risks. Many aren't even aware of it. They've just gotten used to it over the years as a, quote, acceptable loss. This isn't theory. It's real work you've done for real patients with real documentation and care. And if you don't follow up on denials, you're essentially saying someone else's rules are dictating your revenue. For physician groups, this means margins get squeezed, growth stalls, and independence becomes harder to maintain. All because you're handing over a bunch of money to the payers. Let's unpack this step by step. First, what we mean by denials and the scope of the problem, then the root causes, then we'll move on to key performance metrics or KPIs you need to monitor, and finally, a leadership-level action plan to recoup that lost revenue. Understanding denials and their impact. A denied claim is one that was submitted to a payer but is rejected for payment due to various reasons: eligibility, coding errors, missing authorizations, documentation problems, timely filing issues, and many others. It differs from a rejection, which is often caught before submission, or a write-off, which may reflect an expected contractual adjustment. Denials represent claims that should have been paid, but weren't. Studies show the denial rate in some insurance markets is as high as 19 to 37%, depending on whether they are in-network or out-of-network claims under ACA marketplace plans. The key point, say your group submits 100 claims and 20 are denied. From those 20, if 65% are never addressed, that's 13 claims gone. If each claim carried value, that's roughly 13% of your billing value at risk. What does that mean in actual dollars? For a practice billing, say, $10 million a year, 13% equates to $1.3 million of revenue potentially lost due to the combination of denials and no follow-up. That's money you earned. That's clinical effort, and yet the revenue never materializes. And the impact goes beyond the dollar figure. When revenue goes unrecovered, cash flow tightens, you may delay investments on technology or staff or growth. Provider burnout risk increases as your team grapples with financial stress. Strategic decisions, hiring, acquisitions, expansion, become more difficult. A key insight here: most of these cases are preventable, or at least recoverable, if you have the right processes and leadership oversight. Root causes of denial mismanagement. Why are so many denials not followed up? Why is this revenue opportunity slipping away? Several root causes consistently show up in medical practices. Number 1, reactive rather than proactive workflows. Denials often land in a backlog. Instead of being triaged quickly, they sit. Staff become overwhelmed or default to writing them off rather than pursuing appeals. Number 2, training deficiencies. Billing teams may not be fully trained in appeal processes, payer policies, documentation best practices, or the value of following up. They may think, this payer never pays, let's move on. Number 3, ownership ambiguity. Who owns the denials? Is it coding, billing, clinical documentation team? Often, it's none of them, or a bit of all, and no one is accountable. When ownership is split, denials slip through the cracks. Number 4, lack of metrics, dashboards, and leadership visibility. If leadership isn't reporting denial rate, appeal success rate, or write-off conversion from denials, then no one is watching. No one is asking, why did we lose this revenue? Number 5, weak front-end controls. Eligibility, authorizations, accurate documentation, correct coding. Weaknesses here predict denials. Without attention up front, denials become more likely and costlier to correct later. And number 6, assumption of loss as normal. Some practices accept high denial rates as an inevitable cost of doing business. That mindset kills urgency, innovation, and performance improvement. When you combine a relatively high denial rate with the fact that most of the denied claims aren't appealed, you get a systemic leak, and it's happening under the radar in many medical groups. Clean claim opportunity, KPIs, and best practices. To fight back, you need clarity and tracking. That means looking at key performance indicators that reflect the health of your claims submission and denial follow-up process. Here are the critical ones. You're listening to Medical Money Matters, a weekly podcast brought to you by Healthy Practices, a healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company dedicated to keeping our clients independent. Please reach out if we can do anything at all to support your practice. You can find more information online at healtheps.com. That's www.healtheps.com. Please follow or subscribe to get all future episodes downloaded as soon as they're released. Clean claim rate, or first pass resolution rate. This is the percentage of claims submitted that get accepted or paid without the need for rework or follow-up. Highly performing groups generally perform in the 95 to 99% range. Denial rate. This is the percent of total claims submitted that are denied by payers. If your denial rate is much above industry benchmarks, 10 to 15% or more, you know you have a problem. Appeal rate. This is the percent of denied claims that are actively appealed or resubmitted. If only a fraction of denied claims are appealed, you're leaving money behind. Appeal success rate. Of those appeals, how many are successful? Days to denial liquidation. The average time from denial to resolution and payment. Net collection rate. Revenue collected as a percent of allowable charges. This captures several leak points, including denials. Here's the relationship. The higher your clean claim rate, the fewer denials you'll have, and the less revenue you'll lose from follow-up failures. If you submit accurate, clean claims with correct authorizations, correct coding, and accurate patient data, you reduce the denominator of denied claims, and thus your exposure to lost revenue. Leadership must make these KPIs visible. Missed denials should show up in dashboards. The cost of denials must be discussed in financial meetings. Denials are not just billing traffic, they're strategic revenue opportunities. Now let's talk about a leadership action plan to recoup denied revenue. If you're leading a medical group, perhaps you're a physician owner, CEO, CFO, or operations executive, here's a structured action plan to tackle denials and recoup that lost revenue. Number 1, pull the data immediately. Start with your last 12 months of claims. How many were submitted? What % were denied? Of those denied, what % were followed up, appealed, or written off? What are the top denial reasons? Authorization, eligibility, coding, timely filing? What payers, what service lines, what providers drive the most denials? Number 2, identify high-value loss areas. Focus on payers with high denial rates in your mix, service lines where denial value is high, providers whose documentation or coding produce frequent denials, reason codes that repeat. For example, missing authorization, eligibility is incorrect, or documentation is insufficient. Number 3, strengthen your front-end processes. Many denials are preventable. Invest in reliable eligibility and benefits verification, prior authorization workflows, templates ensuring accurate documentation, and coding reviews before submission. The fewer denials you generate, the less you lose. Number 4, build a robust denial follow-up and appeals team. Create a dedicated team or assign dedicated resources whose job is to actively track denied claims, classify them by cause, assign ownership, and escalate when needed. Set thresholds. For example, claims over $1,000 or recurring denial codes for immediate review. Prioritize appeals for denials with a high probability of reimbursement. Many appeals succeed if done well. Number 5, create feedback loops. Denials aren't just billing problems. Share data on denial reasons with clinicians, coders, and front desk staff. For example, if missing authorization drove 30% of denials, the front desk, scheduling team, and clinical documentation team need to see that and correct behaviors. Use denial reason reports to drive change in registration, clinical workflows, and coding. Number 6, monitor KPIs monthly and hold people accountable. Use your dashboard to track clean claim rate, denial rate, appeal rate, days to denial liquidation, and value recovered from denied claims. Set improvement targets. For instance, reduce denial rate by 20% over the next 12 months, or increase appeal rate to 50%, or improve clean claim rate to 97%. Share results with leadership and staff, and be sure that you reward improvement. Number 7, embed a culture of revenue integrity. Change the mindset. Denials aren't normal, they're fixable. The work your providers do deserves to be paid. Make it part of your annual financial planning and operations strategy. Recognize that preventing and recovering denials is a strategic asset, not just a billing nuisance. Number 8, benchmark and review contracts. High denial rates may reflect unfavorable payer contracts or inappropriate service mix. While billing workflows matter, contract strategy matters too. Your negotiating power is stronger if you understand denial impact. Leadership should examine if certain payers consistently deny large proportions of claims and consider contracting options or pay arrangements accordingly. Number 9, leverage technology. Use analytics and denial management software to identify patterns, flag high-risk claims pre-submission, automate follow-up workflows. Some platforms integrate with your EHR and billing system to generate alerts when denials hit. The practices that use technology effectively outperform those who don't. And number 10, access consulting help if needed. If your internal resources aren't catching up, an audit by an experienced consulting firm can surface hidden revenue loss, process gaps, and help you design your new roadmap. At Healthy Practices, we regularly support medical groups in denial audits, process redesign, and revenue recovery, starting with a no-cost conversation to understand your specific challenges. Now let's talk about closing the revenue gap and what's at stake. Think about it again. If 20% of claims are denied and 65% of those aren't appealed, you're losing roughly 13% of revenue. That's not a rounding error, it's material. It can fund several staff hires, major technology upgrades, improve physician compensation, even fund service line expansions, or simply improve your margin and your independence. This lost revenue doesn't show up as an obvious expense. It's somewhat invisible. It's the work that never converted to cash. And because it's invisible, it's rarely addressed with urgency. And that must change. If you're listening and thinking, we already have denial management, ask yourself, what's our denial rate? What percent are we appealing? How long does it take? Do I receive reports? Do my clinicians, front desk staff, and billing team get feedback? And are we improving? If the answer to any of those questions is I don't know, then you have risk. The good news is you're not alone, and the fix is very achievable. It starts with visibility and accountability. It ends with stronger financial performance and greater freedom. Collecting what you've earned is part of maintaining independence. It empowers your group to reinvest in growth, quality, physician satisfaction, and ultimately better patient care. If your group is ready to move past, we'll look at denials someday, and step into we track, improve, and recover, then let's talk. We're happy to help uncover your denial risk, build your KPIs, train your teams, and improve your revenue cycle. Our first meeting is always free. Pure value, no pressure. Thanks for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated, if it lifted a question, an issue, a concern in your practice, share it with your team. Because when denial recovery becomes a shared mission, your group gets stronger. Until next time. You can find more information online at medicalmoneymatterspodcast.com, and you can sign up to be notified when enrollment opens for the Medical Money Matters e-learning program for a mini MBA physician style, which will carry CME credits and will be released in upcoming months. In that, we'll do an even deeper dive so you can understand dynamic budgeting strategies, cash flow forecasting, and other more esoteric financial concepts. We've included those links in the show notes. As I like to close out these podcasts, congratulations on taking the next step in your professional development and for making the commitment to learn about the financial and business aspects of your practice. I look forward to being on this journey with you and send you my heartfelt gratitude for all that you do for your patients all day, every day.